Hello, this is a tarot card reading from Melanie Bird. It is January 16th at 10:05 p.m. Today we'll be doing the Pentacle spread as you requested, and you asked that we do a blind reading. The first card in the Pentacle spread is the card that represents the current or you, and here we have the Queen of Swords. Since I've never read for you, and obviously you wanted a blind reading, I didn't know much about you. And it's traditional to choose one of the high suits to represent you, so one of the pages, the knights, the queens, or the kings. Traditionally, the queen is the only feminine of the group, so that narrows it down. And I chose the Queen of Swords because she's the least forthcoming of the queens. She's a little closed off, and I always think that's appropriate for a blind reading. The first card in the Pentacle spread represents the first element, and that is Earth. And here Earth represents what may be holding you back. Because we're doing a blind reading, of course, this is what may be holding you back in life. The first card I pulled, the Earth card, is the High Priestess. What this tells me is that whatever is holding you back is hidden. It's something that you haven't recognized at all, or perhaps you're aware of, but you're not aware of how deep and how much it's influencing you. What this means to me is something in your past, something you haven't dealt with, something that may be deep in your subconscious, perhaps from your childhood or a traumatic event. Or if you are someone who's spiritual, someone who believes in paranormal influences on your life, it may be something of that nature as well. So whatever's holding you back, you're either not aware of it, not fully aware of it, and it's something you aren't currently dealing with on a subconscious or a spiritual level. The next card in the spread we pull is the card that represents air. And this is what other people think of the situation. It's not necessarily good advice, not necessarily bad advice. It's just the reflections and advice others give. Here we have another major arcana card. We have Strength. And this card is very interesting to me. What this card represents is right now you've been focusing on physical struggles, primarily job or financial struggles, and you've been neglecting those spiritual needs that we saw in this card. So some of these things are being caused, some of these issues are being caused because you haven't been addressing those issues buried in your subconscious or that nagging spiritual problem. So we see that struggle reflected here. But what we see here is that people are aware of your financial or physical struggles, your financial or materialistic, financial or career struggles. But they believe that if you take the time to handle your spiritual issues, to handle those buried issues in your subconscious or those spiritual issues, you'll be able to overcome these problems. The next card in the spread represents Fire. And what this card represents is your current internal doubts. And here I see here we pulled the Two of Pentacles. And I see the focus on the material at the expense of the spiritual that we saw in the card for Strength. So when it comes to the Two of Pentacles, I see that you've been having some money issues. You've had to, for example, put money around, move money from one account to another, pay off one credit card bill with another credit card bill, or borrow from one person to pay off another person. You've had to move money around and you're just coming up short. And that's where your focus has been. Your focus has been on the money, which we see reflected here. And again, of course, it comes at the expense of the emotional and the spiritual well-being. However, I would like to note that this card always comes with a positive side. This is the deck recognizing that you're struggling with money, but that a solution will be coming soon. The next card in the spread represents Water. It represents what your intuition is trying to tell you. Now, this card will be particularly important because we see here that the thing that's holding you back is something you are not dealing with due to your intuition, because you've been focusing on these the financial struggles we saw in these two cards. Now, the people in your life feel you'll overcome the financial issues if you just choose to focus on your intuition problems, that some of those financial issues are rooted here. So we really want to pay attention again to this next card, the water card that represents your intuition. And the card we pulled is the Eight of Cups. And this is a very interesting card in this spread. What this card tells me is that there are relationships that you once took for granted. People who were in your life, you thought they'd always be in your life. People you were very close with. And some of these relationships have run their course. That can be something that's very hard to cope with because so many of us are concerned with attachment. We want our relationships to last forever. Forever love, best friends forever. But sometimes people come into our lives to fulfill a role. And once they've fulfilled that, once they've helped you grow, once they've taught you whatever lesson they've come to carry for you, sometimes it's time for them to leave. And your intuition is telling you that some of your attachments have run their course and it's time to let go of them. So what that tells me here about the hidden influence, the thing that maybe you're not fully acknowledging, and the thing that's buried in your subconscious is maybe there are some relationships you have in your life that are long-lasting, but are not necessarily positive, have left you with some deep emotional scars. These deep emotional scars, the emotional aftermath of these relationships, still affects you, and it's holding you back, it's preventing you from growing. If you chose to deal with these issues as we see other people are advising you to do, and you choose to let go of some of these problematic relationships, things could change. Perhaps these people are giving you bad advice, have taken advantage of you and your money, or perhaps it could just mean that your emotions and your energy will be free, you'll be more positive, and you'll be more ready and able to tackle the financial issues we see in this card. Now, the last card in this spread represents the Spirit. So if we think of these as chapters of the book, the Spirit card is the conclusion. And this conclusion is, of course, based on the fact that if you continue down this path and you don't make the changes that the cards suggest. So here we have the Devil card. I'm not sure if you're familiar with tarot, so I always like to warn you. The Devil card is not necessarily inherently bad. It's just here to teach us a lesson like all the other cards. Just like to put out that warning because so many people see the devil and they get scared. What the Devil tells me in this